Squash is so much more than the physical and the technical. It's the mental as well, and that includes concentration, determination, mental imagery, many things. But one aspect that's not often talked about is psychological tricks or stratagems. So in this video I want to talk about 5 things that you might encounter or could use to make sure that you get the upper hand, to make sure that you are in control. Now, what I want to say first of all is that I never advocate being rude to your opponent, being purposefully and openly aggressive, or 3, breaking the rules. Now, being rude to your opponent should just be a given, that we shouldn't even be talking about that. But there are times when, in the heat of the battle, you do become emotional. You probably remember a match with Nick Matthew and Mohammed El Shorbagy, where Nick was right in Mr. El Shorbagy's face, right in his face. Apparently he apologised afterwards. Now, I'm sure that it was just the emotion and the heat of the battle, but some people seem to do it on purpose. Now, other people use it to get themselves pumped up and motivated, and that's maybe another video. So all I'm saying here is don't purposefully be aggressive just to try and, be in charge of a match. I don't think that that's a nice thing to do. And lastly, don't break the rules. I'm not suggesting that anybody breaks the rules in any way, shape or form, because that doesn't work. But within the squash court, if you play or you're watching this, you know that there are things that happen that make a difference. So we're going to be talking about those. So let's get started. Number 1, when heating up the ball, you decide when it's time to switch sides. I remember being in a club match and we were hitting the ball and the ball was warm because it wasn't a particularly cold night, and I said to my opponent, swap sides, and he said, no, a few more shots. And I have to admit, it's the first time anybody ever did that to me, and I was shocked. And then I realised, this guy is not going to be bullied in any way. He decides what happens. So I timidly just waited until he was ready, and then we swapped sides. And then I timidly waited until he said that he was ready to start the match. Now, in this case, we were playing in a club match, one club versus another club, and there's a referee, and the referee should have been like, okay, time, but that doesn't always happen. And sometimes I've even seen people say to the referee when they've said time, just a little bit more, ref, just want to get this ball a bit warmer, and the ref said, all right. And that's okay. I mean, we're not talking about professionals here. But what it did do is it showed me that even in the knock-up, people can take control of the situation. He set the tone from the beginning of the match that said, I decide what happens in this match. Honestly, I don't remember if I won or lost, because back in those days, I used to give the ball to the opponent and say, you can serve, I don't care. Because I felt that was like a psychological trick at the time that says, it doesn't matter whether you serve or not, I'm going to beat you. Anyway, that's another topic. So there, knocking up the ball, you decide. Even if you're ready, just say to your opponent, just a couple more shots, not rudely, but firmly. Number 2, rush your opponent when you serve. Now this assumes that you don't have a slightly longer routine that you like to get into, because many players, they have their own routine, bounce a ball a few times, take a deep breath, whatever they like to do. And I don't want you to rush yourself, but you can rush your opponent. Now let's remember, you've only got a set period of time between the points anyway. So if anybody's taking too long, you're within your rights to try to speed things up. A good time to do this is after a really long rally, because you do not want to give your opponent too long to get their breath back, to recover. You want to make sure that you keep the momentum going. So if you can, rush them a little bit. I have many times returned serves when I'm not actually 100% ready. And I'm stupid for not saying, okay, sorry, whoa. Let's do that again. I wasn't ready. And you've probably done it. We've all probably done it. And we shouldn't. We should be saying, within the time limit, when I'm ready. So, rush your opponent if you can, without being rude and without breaking your rhythm. Number 3 is of course the opposite. Don't let your opponent rush you on the serve. Take your time. The best way to do this is to not be in the position where you would be to return serve. Be, almost on his side, or her side, of course. Somewhere where if they serve, you're not even there to be able to hit it, so that they can't rush you. But as I mentioned in the previous one, don't go outside of your allotted time, because that's part of the rules. Just make sure that you don't get rushed. And if you do get rushed, don't do what I did and what you've probably done in the past, which is just return the serve. Stop and say, I wasn't ready. Hang on a second. Take your time and make sure that you're ready to start the next rally, because you don't want to lose a quick point, especially after a really long one. So don't be rushed. Number 4, after a game, stay on court and hit a few more shots. I remember when this first happened to me, I couldn't understand what this person was doing. It was like, oh my God, we've just had a really hard game. How can you want to stay on court? I need to get some fresh air. I need to get a drink. And of course, this person eventually came out and had a quick sip and went back on court. But I was thinking more about that than I was about what I should be thinking about, what rallies, what tactics I should be using. Did I play the right shots at the right time? Am I working hard enough? All of those things. I was thinking about him, not the game. Now, you have to make sure that it doesn't break your rhythm, like all things. But if you find that you can stay on court just a few more, hit a few shots, hit a few nicks, especially the shots that you like to hit, maybe even hit a few serves, you can get into the head of the opponent by him worrying, or her worrying about what you're doing instead of worrying about what they should be doing. It's a very small little thing, but in some cases it might make a difference. Number 5. Number 5 has 2 aspects. The title of number 5 is Forget the Score. Now the first aspect is the best I've ever played has been when I totally forgot the score. I had no idea what the score was. And when the marker said match, I was like, really? Oh, okay. And I felt really good after that because I wasn't choosing shots based on the score, which is another video. So shot selection based on score is another video. I was choosing shots based on what was the right thing for me to do at the right time. And I wasn't thinking about winning or losing, and that is really important. I was thinking about playing. My concentration was totally on that ball at that moment. Now, that will happen naturally sometimes to you, or you can make an effort to just totally forget the score. Say to your opponent, will you keep score? Yeah, maybe, I suppose there's a chance that, you might make a mistake and maybe you should be worrying about it, or definitely if there's like a marker, sorry, I'm pointing behind me because of course I'm thinking I'm on a squash court. But if you can forget the score and focus on your game, that would be a really good thing. Now the second part is to purposefully forget the score. I find it incredibly frustrating when somebody says to me after each rally, what's the score? It's like, what am I, the marker? You just played the rally, you know what the score is. He got into my head. A very small thing, but anything that interrupts or disrupts my concentration might be enough for me to hit a silly shot or play the wrong choice, and then I've lost that rally. So if you can say to your opponent, what's the score? Maybe you'll get a kind of a reaction. He might get a bit frustrated. Now, there will be some viewers who will be saying, but you can't do those kind of things, that's not really fair. But they're not breaking the rules, and I'm not saying that you should be doing them, I'm just saying you should be aware of them. So if somebody starts doing it to you, don't get bothered by it. If this has been useful, please consider subscribing and be sure to turn on notifications so you get told when I release a new video. Down here is a playlist of solo practice routines, making sure that you maximize your time on court. And up here is a video that YouTube thinks is a really good fit for you based on what you've been watching. And remember, do something every single day to improve your squash. See ya.